Starting about 6 years ago, I had this crazy ambitious goal to read 24 books a year, so at least 2 a month, and it seemed like a daunting task, but I did accomplish it 2 years in a row, and then it started dwindling off, and I had asked myself, like, all right, what are some of the things holding me back from hitting these goals that I have of mine? And I've learned some things along the way that's helped me bring that number back up and get closer to my reading goals. And I know this is something that is super important to some people because I believe that reading is one of the best ways we can learn and grow ourselves. So as a little side note, I'm more of a nonfiction reader than a fiction reader. I still think you can read and understand and gain a lot from fiction and novels. But for myself personally, what I'm going to talk about is just nonfiction, leadership, self-development, etc. Reading those types of books. But I think the tools that I'm going to give you and the tips are going to be just as applicable to fiction as it is nonfiction. So we'll cover 4 different tips that I've thought of that I think would help you read more often. The first tip that I have for you is to read what you love. So it seems pretty self-explanatory, but the idea is, like, if you don't love exactly what you're reading, then you're not going to be able to finish it in a timely manner, or even have the desire to pick it up whenever you see it, or think about, or have time to read. So it's easy to find something that you love, and one of the best ways to do that, I think personally, is just going to somewhere like Barnes & Noble, and you just browse through all the books. Look at the covers, look at what's inside, read a little bit that's inside of there, and just see what catches your eye, and take some time with it. And if you love that book, then you can go ahead and purchase it. It's easier to continue to read and add to your yearly count by doing that. One thing I would add to this is figuring out if you love to read on a Kindle, if you like some type of e-reader, if you would prefer to hold a physical book, or even audiobooks, because it's another option to help you get through more titles in a year. But my favorite is physical books because I love to be able to highlight it, underline it, put some marks in it of some sort. Kindle would be the next one, and audiobooks I sometimes like to do as well. But if you don't feel like you have a lot of time, audiobooks are great, especially when you're driving to work, if you have a longer commute. If you're doing chores around the house or something, you can also do that as well, and that'll just help you read more often. So alongside with finding something that you do love to read, it's finding the way that you love to read as well. It's the second half of that part. Second tip that I have is picking a time to read. It's very important because it kind of help you have that prompt, that trigger to help you remind yourself that, like, hey, I want to read. This is when I'm going to read. A few ways that I do that right now is I have a devotional that's on my bedside table, so when I wake up, it's next to my alarm, next to the lamp. I'm going to pick up that, read that real quick, and then get started on my day. And the next is I listen to the Bible on audio while I get my breakfast and coffee ready in the morning. That way I'm knocking that out as well while I'm getting my normal routine things done. And then at the end of the night, I'll have a physical copy of the book, but right now I have a Kindle next to my bed as well. So again, it's the easy trigger to be like, hey, I want to read something before I go to bed, even if it's just for a little bit. Couple pages, whatever it is, at least I'm getting something done and also giving myself that trigger, that space and opportunity to read. Again, some other ways that I've hinted is if you're doing audiobooks, if you're doing chores, say like you wrap up at the end of the night, or if you are on a long commute to and from work, that's a great time to listen to audiobooks as well. So finding a time and just sticking to it kind of helps give you that reminder to do that. If you have Kindle and you have it on your phone, it's also another great opportunity when you're standing in lines or you're just waiting instead of scrolling through Instagram, Facebook, or something like that, and you're trying to read more often. You can use one of the widgets to allow yourself to be reminded of, like, hey, this is the book that I'm reading, let me open it up and just read a little bit, and going from there. This third tip that I have is something that I struggled with for a very long time, especially even from 6 years ago. When starting this is that normally I would want to start and finish whatever book that I'm reading. I would go from beginning to end. I would be like, I have to finish this book. I cannot quit. I've already started. I might as well finish it. And that would delay myself sometimes because it'd be breaking the first tip that I had. Is like, I may not be loving that book. It may not be the season that I'm in, may not be something applicable to my life at the time, and I thought I was going to enjoy it. But in reality, I just needed to quit the book for a little bit until I was ready to pick it back up. The same thing may be for you when you're just like not exactly what you thought it would be and you're not enjoying the content, then it's okay to put the book down. The other half of this is starting multiple books. So if you have an audio book and you're listening to that on your commute, you can be listening to that book. And then at night, you could be reading a different physical book or a Kindle book, or you have a physical book that you like to read at night and then a Kindle book that you like to read while you're on the go. Any combination will allow you to have multiple books going at the same time. Again, I struggled with that because I thought I had to start on one book and finish it, But the idea also still ties into the first one, is like reading what you love. So sometimes you may not be wanting to read something so intense that might have a lot more information in it and it may be more dense. So that would not be ideal. So you'd opt for skipping that book instead of just picking up something that might be a little lighter, a little funnier, more enjoyable to read at the moment, and then be able to still knock out that goal you had for yourself that day. So very important to give yourself the opportunity. So it's very important to give yourself that opportunity to start multiple books and also just stop the ones that aren't working for you at the time. That way you can continue to keep reading, continue to learn, continue to grow, and enjoy doing it. This last tip that I have for you is to remember it's not a competition, that it's great to have a numeric goal, but at the end of the day, you should be able to A, enjoy yourself, and B, just get something out of your reading. Again, I was talking about most of the things I read is nonfiction, and if I read 100 books in a year and I didn't learn anything from any of it, then it would have not mattered that I read all of those books. Yes, I'll get the achievement. Yes, I could, be prideful about it, but if I didn't actually gain anything, if something didn't change in my life, I didn't grow in any aspect, then all of that was for nothing. Same applies to you. You can read all that you want. I'd rather have read the 10 books that I did last year and got what I did out of them than to read 100 of them and not learn a single thing. So have some type of goal, reach for it if you like, but remember at the end of it, it's not a competition. Nobody's trying to figure out how much you're reading. You don't get a gold star or anything. At the end of the day, it's realizing like, hey, did I enjoy what I read? Did I learn something? Am I growing? Is it challenging me? And at the end of the day, those things are going to matter so much more than you reading whatever number of books that you've given yourself to read in a certain period of time. So as I've alluded to, I would love every single one of these to have some type of action that you can do right now, in this moment, today. If reading a book is a goal of yours and knocking that out, I would say do that right now. So whether it's getting on Amazon and getting in Kindle and finding a book that you want to start reading right now and placing it next to your bedside table, getting Audible and downloading audiobooks. If you feel like you can't purchase a book, then you can get something like Libby, where it allows you to rent ebooks and audiobooks online. You can also, surprisingly, you can go to the library, wherever you're at, and they're gonna have options for you as well. It's also a great place to check out books, find out something that you love, check it out for free locally, and then work on that book, knock it out, and use these tips to reach those goals of yours. So you should not allow anything to hold you back from it. That's something you start working on right now, today, in this moment, and find something that you love to read. So those are your 4 tips for achieving your reading goals this year. I am a book nerd, so if you have suggestions and things that you love and that you feel like made a big impact, I'd love for you to comment that below and let me know what those are and what some of your favorites are in it. And that way I can check them out and potentially read them as well. So I challenge you to learn and grow and find something that you enjoy today. And until next video, own your day today.